whose product is 1 is known as a reciprocal, okay? So if you take a number times a number, and if its product is 1, those numbers are reciprocals of each other, okay? Reciprocals. Okay, another name for reciprocal is the multiplicative inverse, okay, of each other, okay? So if I look at like the number 2/3, if I times that by 3/2, what would I get? 6/6, which is just 1. So we could say 2/3 and 3/2 are reciprocals or multiplicative inverses of each other, okay? If I have 5, what's 5's reciprocal? 1/5, right? Okay. So reciprocal is just the flip of the fraction, right? 5 is the same thing as 5/1, so we just flip it there, which still gives us 1 there, okay? So the property of reciprocal says for every non-zero real number, okay? And it has to be non-zero because if it's 0, what happens to everything? It's 0, right? And you don't have a reciprocal of 0 because can you have 0 in the denominator? No, okay? Such that the unique real number of 1/a, such that if I have a times 1/a, it's always going to equal 1. Okay, so a times 1/a is equal to 1. Okay. Same thing is if I have 1/a, I would multiply 1/a by what? A, and that would equal 1. The property of the reciprocal of the opposite of the number. Okay, so if I look at -a, what's its reciprocal? -1/a. Okay, so we always make sure we keep the sign there. And -a times -1/a would be +1 still, because the negative times a negative is positive, right? Okay. So just know when we're looking at the opposite number, if I have -1/a, that could be the same as -1/+a or 1/-a, right? No matter where the negative is, it doesn't matter, right? Okay. Liam, put the computer away right now because I know you're doing something else, please. Thank you. All right. The property of the reciprocal of the product of it, okay? So in this case, of A and B are real numbers, non-zero again. If I have 1/a times B, 1/a times B, isn't that the same thing as 1/a times 1/b? Yeah, okay. So if I have two fractions, you just multiply straight across, right? Multiply straight across. Okay. So example 1 here. All right, 1/4 times a 1/-7. What's a positive times a negative? A negative, so my answer is going to be a negative. 1 times 1 is 1, and 4 times 7? 28. So we have -1/28, okay? Is it okay if I write it as -1/28 or 1/-28? Yeah, that's fine. But usually we always put it in the front there. All right, looking at D, okay? 4y is the same thing as 4y/1, right? So we can multiply straight across if we want, and 4y times 1 is 4y. 1 times 4 is 4. And what's 4y/4? Just y, right? Because 4 divided by 4 is 1, okay? And 1y is just y. Another thing you could do here is, could I cross simplify? Yeah, I could, okay? So I could cross simplify the 4's and make them 4 divided by 4 is 1. And then I have 1y times 1, which is just y, and 1 times 1 in the denominator is just 1. Okay, so you end up still with y. So either way there, it doesn't matter, okay? If you like to multiply first, then simplify, or you can simplify first, then multiply, okay? All right, let's look at B. -6ab times -1/3. 6AB is the same thing as 6AB over 1. Okay. And if we multiply straight across, a negative times a negative is a positive. So what's 6AB times 1? 6AB over 1 times 3 is 3. And then what's 6 divided by 3? 2, right? This is 2, so I would actually get 2AB. Now, we could have cross-simplified first, right? 3 and 6 would become 2 over 1, and then multiply straight across. So either or doesn't matter. Okay. All right, then E. Okay, what are we going to do in E here? Distribute. So I'm going to take 1/3 times each of those, and these are just over 1, right? So we're going to have 1 times 42m is 42m over 3 times 1 is 3. 1/3 times a negative number is going to be negative. 1 times 3v is 3v over 3 times 1 is 3. Now let's simplify. What's 42 divided by 3? 14 over 1. So we have 14m minus, and what's 3v divided by 3? Just v. Can I combine 14mv minus v and make it 14mv or 13mv? No, they're not like terms, so you leave them there. Okay. And then C. What are we going to do in C here first? Distribute. Okay, so we're going to distribute negative 1/8 first, right? So negative 1/8 would be, these are over 1. So we have negative 48x over 8. What's a negative times a negative? Positive, so I'm going to put plus. Okay, 1 times 16 is 16 over 8. Okay. And then here, what am I distributing? A negative 1/4, right? These are over 1. So negative 1/4 times 84 over 1 would be negative 84x over 4. What's a negative times a positive? A negative. 1 times 8 is 8 over 4. Okay. And again, you could cross simplify these, right? If you're multiplying by 1/8, isn't that just the same thing as dividing by 8? Yeah, so you could do that too. But let's keep going. What's negative 48 divided by 8? Negative 6x. 16 divided by 8? 2. What's negative 84x divided by 4? Negative 21x. And 8 divided by 4 is negative 2. All right. Now, what do we need to do here? Simplify, combine like terms, right? Negative 6x and negative 21x, which is negative 27x. Good. A positive 2 and a negative 2. 0 cancels out, so this would be my final answer. Go ahead and try to do F. Okay, so everyone at home and here, go ahead and start working on F for me. Okay. All right. So looking at F here, okay, what would be my first step? I'm going to distribute, right? And what am I going to distribute first? the innermost parenthesis, right? So what am I distributing there? The 1/4, right? Okay. What's 1/4 of 12? 3n plus 1/4 times 1 is just 1/4 minus 1/4 plus 10n. Okay. Combine like terms inside. So what happens to the 1/4 and negative 1/4? It cancels out. So we have -3 times 3n plus 10n. Then what would I do? Multiply -3n, right? So -3 times 3n is 9 plus 10n would be this n. Good. Perfect. All right, that is 2.8. Okay. Is there any questions? Okay. Anyone at home have questions so far? Thank you. If you have questions, please type it in. And I'm going to go ahead and move on to the second part. You guys okay with that? Okay, is defined that the same thing is A times, or let's do divided first. A divided by B would equal the same thing as A times what? No. 1/B, right? 1/B. Okay. Because think about when we did fractions. Can we divide by fractions? We can? No, we can't divide by fractions. What do we always do? We multiply by its reciprocal. So that's what the division property says. That if you take A divided by B, it's the same thing as taking A times the reciprocal of B, right? Yeah, okay. So the rules for division is the same as multiplication, okay? If you have two numbers with the same sign, so both positive, both negative, your quotient is going to be what? So if I have, let's say 6 divided by 3, or -6 divided by -3, is going to be a positive number, yeah? Okay. If we have different signs, their quotient is going to be negative. Okay. So if I had a -6 divided by 3 or a +6 divided by -3, my answer is going to be negative. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and do example 1. Let's go ahead and do example 1 here. Braylon, are you online here? Jacob, are you on? Catherine? Or Gray?
Yes.
Yes, Gray's on.
No, Catherine.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. I'm doing attendance right here, so I can't see you guys right now, so I figured I'd ask. And the rest, I saw your guys' names when I switched over. All right, what is 24 divided by 6? 4. And it's positive, why? Because they're both positive. Okay, what about C? 24 divided by -6. 24 divided by -6 is? -4. Yep. All right, looking at B, we have how many negatives? 3. So if we have 3 negatives, what is my answer going to be? Negative, good. And we're going to get -4. And D, how many negatives do we have? 2, right? So my answer is going to be +4. Yep. All right, example 2. We have -9 divided by -10/3. Can I divide fractions? No. So I'm going to keep the first, which is -9/1. Hi. Oh, okay. Thank you. -9/1. Okay, we're going to change division to multiplication. And what am I going to do with that -10/3? Flip it to make it -3/10. All right, two negatives make a positive. Can I cross simplify on this one? No. So we're going to go ahead and just multiply. 9 times 3 is 27, and 1 times 10 is 10. So it's just 27/10. You do not have to turn these into mixed numbers. Leave them as improper. I like improper way better than mixed, okay? One less step, one less chance to make a mistake, okay? All right, looking at C here. I hate when it looks like a fraction over a fraction, don't you guys? So I'm going to rewrite this and say this is -3 divided by -1/3. Does that look a little bit better? Yeah, I like the way that looks. So if you see a fraction over a fraction, write it as a division problem, okay? Make it look a little bit neater. All right, so now -3 is going to be the same thing as -3, but we're going to change division to multiplication. And what do I do with -1/3? Flip it to be -3/1. So a negative times a negative is a positive. And what's 3 times 3? 9. And do I have to do the 1 in the bottom? Nope. All right. B, 45x over -9. This one is pretty cleaned up. I don't have to change it into division, right? Can I just simplify 45 and -9? Yes. What is 45 divided by -9? -5, and we leave the x. That's -5x. Now, what if I had a problem like 45 over -9x? What would my answer be there? Would that still be -5x? No, that would be -5 over what? X. The x has to stay in the bottom there, okay? Yep, good. All right, D, W over 13 times 13. 13 is the same thing as 13/1. Can I cross simplify in this one since it's multiplication? Yeah, so what do the 13s do? Cancel each other out, and I'm just left with W. Good. And again, if you wanted to multiply it, you get 13W over 13, which still cancels out to W, okay? All right, just a few more questions here. Can we divide by 0? No, so anytime you have 0 in the denominator, you can't do it. It's undefined, okay? Can 0 be divided by any number? So could I have 0 divided by 2? Okay. Well, let's think about this, okay? We know division. If I have a problem such as like 6 divided by 3, what is 6 divided by 3? 2. Why? Because 3 times 2 equals 6, right? Okay, right? That makes sense? Close, okay? So if we have, let's say, 5 divided by 0 equals what? This is the first one where we divide by 0. You guys all say it's no, but why? Because think about this. 0 times what number would get me to this 5? Nothing, right? Because you can't multiply. Anything times 0 is always 0. I can never get to 5, can I? No.
Stop sharing.
To 0. 0. So you can take 0 divided by any number, which is always going to be what? 0. You just can't divide by 0. Okay, does that make sense to you guys? Yeah, okay. All right, and then is division commutative? No, because what does commutative mean? You can move them around. Like 6 divided by 3, is that the same thing as 3 divided by 6? No. 6 divided by 3 is not equal to 3 divided by 6. What is 6 divided by 3? 2. What's 3 divided by 6? 1/2. Not the same, right? Okay. So if it's not commutative, would it ever be associative? No. Okay. Because again, now you're just using 3 numbers and dividing. Okay. All right. And then the last part here, okay, sorry, I gotta erase this. Is just breaking it apart. Okay. There's not much to it. But if I see like A plus B over C, could I make 2 fractions out of this? Yeah, that would be the same thing as A over C plus B over C. Because when we add fractions, remember, we always add the numerator, and what happens to my denominator? It always stays the same. So this is just another way to look at it. So if I had a problem like 5x plus 2 equal or divided by 3, and it just wants you to rewrite this. Actually, I'm going to change this number, make it a little bit more challenging. All right, over 6. Okay. 5x plus 6 divided by 3. I can't divide 5x plus 6 divided by 3 as a whole, can I? No, but I could break this up into 2 problems, couldn't I? Could I break this up to 5x over 3 plus 6 over 3? Yeah. And 5x over 3, can I simplify that? Can I simplify 5 divided by 3? Nope. So we leave it as 5x over 3 plus, but can I divide 6 by 3? Yeah. What is 6 divided by 3? 2. So this actually would be the simplest form of that fraction. Okay. All right. And then if it's just a minus sign, what's the only thing that changes? Instead of the plus sign, you're going to have a minus sign. That's it. So if you see this, it would be A over C minus B over C. And the same idea here. If I would change that to a minus 6, this would just be a minus 2 at the very end. Okay. And that's pretty much 2.9. Okay, with the division and divided by 0, all of that. Okay. Do you guys have any questions? Anyone here have questions? Yes, ma'am. Huh? Yeah, I'll find them.